Let's talk about when the narcissistic person accuses you of hurting their feelings when you are the one going through a difficult time. So have you ever had this happen? You may hold back on sharing something with a narcissistic person because in the past they have not been empathic, or they have broken your trust or broken your confidence and shared what you told them with other people when you asked them not to, or just that you know that they're going to be an asshole about it, right? If you have done that, it's actually smart. So you don't tell the narcissistic person, but maybe because you need support, you talk to other people. Or the narcissistic person finds out your bad news through some other means. And instead of the narcissistic person rolling up and being empathic because something bad happened to you, or when the day finally comes that you do share the bad news with them, and they may not know about it, but whatever happened to you happened a few weeks ago or more than just recently, and then you finally do share the news with them, what happened? You can drop in the comments what's happened when you wait to tell the narcissistic person your difficult news or bad time. But my guess is, when you did tell them, they make it about them. And common responses from the narcissistic person would be, "Oh my gosh, I can't believe you didn't tell me this sooner. I'm so hurt that you didn't feel you could share this with me." Or they'd say, "Why would you not tell me this? I feel betrayed. You told such and such before you told me." Or they might just simply say, "How could you do this to me?" Ultimately, everything's about them, right? Everything is about the narcissistic person, including your pain, your loss, your bad news. At a time when you need comfort, they will hold your feet to the fire as to why you didn't come to them first, and then want to have a long discussion with you about how you don't trust them and how hurt they are. It's the alternative universe of abject selfishness that is the narcissistic relationship. People have shared this happening, in particular with their narcissistic parents. They might say to them, "Why do you have to go talk to other people first? I'm your family." And yet in the past, when you would share something vulnerable or difficult with this parent, they would either mock you or criticize you or minimize you. And when you don't share it with the parent, they'll frame it as some form of disloyalty. You can't win. For real, that's what they will do. Now, this video and the reminder of this pattern didn't come from a very good place for me. I've recently come off from some time off. I was watching some really bad reality TV, which means lots of narcissistic people. And one show I was watching had a large cast of people, but 3 really, really, really awful narcissistic people. Like everyone on the show was narcissistic, but there were 3 that were just absolutely awful and severe. Now, one gal on the show, her husband or her boyfriend or someone like that was cheating on her. And she found out because she saw something on his phone or her phone, and she confided in other people. Now, she had a very close friend who was narcissistic, and her narcissistic friend was already being not nice by criticizing the hurt friend for not being more fun. And then there was a third party who knew everyone, who knew about the cheating and said, "Hey, don't be so hard on her. She's going through a tough time." And then the narcissistic friend said, "She can't be going through a tough time. She hasn't said anything to me, and she tells me everything." Which in its own way was a sort of interesting twist on gaslighting. Because of course, how could her friend possibly be going through something without this narcissistic woman knowing about it? Then the narcissistic friend talked to the woman whose husband cheated on her. The cheated on woman is devastated. She is crying. She is very fragile. And the narcissistic woman, who was supposed to be her friend, is actually quite cold and hits her with, "I can't believe you didn't tell me. I am so hurt. I mean, seriously." And this vein continued for a while, to the point that the poor cheated on woman did call her out. And of course, the narcissistic woman gaslighted her, and it was all a mess. It was really a train wreck to witness. But this angle, and it reminded me that we don't talk about this on this channel yet, happens in every kind of narcissistic relationship imaginable. This happens in intimate relationships and friendships with narcissistic family members. Somehow people who feel entitled to your pain, to your devastation, to your difficult times, who will often then, upon learning those, either judge you or tell you that you're being too dramatic or exaggerating, or too sensitive, or they might ask you, what did you do to make this bad thing happen? Or they will turn around and tell other people what you shared with them without your consent. And then when you are angry or hurt that they betrayed your confidence, will tell you that you are self-important, or you exaggerate, or you make too big a thing out of things, or do you really think anyone cares, as though you are overreacting for calling them out on their betrayal, and you're already going through something difficult. What's tough is that when you are in a narcissistic relationship, you're hurt on a regular basis, and you learn the hard way to not share your feelings, your hurt, your pain with the narcissistic person. But other stuff goes wrong in your life as well. Life happens. Things happen in your life that may not at all relate, per se, to the narcissistic person. And as part of your firewalling and learning how to manage the narcissistic relationship, you don't share this bad stuff with them either. You learn to hold back on the bad news. That's an important part of discernment. However, if the narcissistic person gets wind of the fact that you didn't share your bad news with them because they have zero insight into the fact that they lack all compassion or kindness or empathy, and they think they're wonderful, helpful people, so when you hold back on sharing a painful experience, it will then deteriorate into it all being about you being the one who's a bad person. Forget the damned reality show. I actually went through this recently around a professional issue, and someone close-ish to me just doesn't know how to be. And I don't know that they're even narcissistic or entitled for sure, but maybe they're definitely antagonistic, right? But when I would bring my professional vulnerabilities to this person, they were basically a 5-star a-hole. So I went firewall on them, and I stopped sharing. And they overheard me sharing a struggle I had recently had. And once I got off the phone, they were huffing and puffing as though I had done something wrong. They were angry that I didn't bring the problem to them, despite their track record of acting aggro and huffy and judgy. I am too old to care anymore, and I told them exactly why I didn't share that with them and why I shared it with that other person, and they lost it. They were already losing it, so it was just a new level of losing it. But it was a reminder that even when you employ the disengagement techniques that I've talked about on this channel to manage the toxic, difficult relationships in your life, that there will still be hell to pay. And the entitlement of the narcissistic person means that the toxic folks feel that they are entitled to a play-by-play of your life and also to speak their mind and judge you. Interestingly, the reality TV person and the person in my life both said, "You don't like what I have to say because you're too weak to hear the truth." Okay. There are some central core truths to the narcissistic relationship. Fundamental amongst these are that they don't change, that you can never win, that they think that they are empathic, nice people. It's the painful, confusing truth of these personalities and these relationships. But if you have had this experience of having the narcissistic person come at you when you don't decide to go to them first with your bad news, because they're going to humiliate and criticize your reaction about it, and they have no empathy for your hurt, you're not alone. And no, you do not owe them or anyone the privilege of hearing your vulnerable hurts and pains. Yes, the narcissistic people will always be awful when you share this kind of information with them. And I still hold to my position that you do not want to share the hurtful aspects of your life with them until you have worked some of it through with more empathic folks. Then, when they do learn it or you do share it, be prepared that they will make your heartache, your pain, and your loss about them.